October 11th, 1973, Pascagoula, Mississippi. Two men are sitting alone in a sheriff's interrogation room. No cameras, no lawyers. The sheriff steps out, but he leaves the recorder running.
And he expected them to drop the act.
You have a 42-year-old shipyard worker and a 19-year-old kid who've just walked into a police station, and they're claiming they were abducted by aliens. Standard Thursday night in Mississippi, folks.
With a not-so-standard spelling of the state. Remember, it's 4 S's and 2 P's, everyone.
Which, you know what, I obviously Googled the state to verify some of this info, and all I'm saying is don't look at my search history because you're not going to be impressed by my spelling.
Oh, no. See, trust me. There are many reasons I don't want to see your search history.
It's because you don't want to spoil all the surprise gifts I'm buying you.
Yeah, babe, protein powder, it's not really a gift that keeps on giving.
And how are you supposed to cultivate mass is all I'm saying. Anyways.
No. We have to shout out Always Sunny because if somebody gets that, you are our tribe. Thank you.
Yes, part of our tribe. That's a very big one. Anyways, I'll tell you what is a gift that keeps on giving, and that's the recording. Because the recorder runs. Nobody knows it's on. And here's what it picks up. Because they were either scared or as gifted of an actor as you.
Well, that's unlikely, but maybe. Because Parker is sobbing. I mean, he's not tearing up. He's fully broken. And Hickson, the older one, is trying to hold them both together. Calvin, be still. Don't get upset. Whatever it is, it's over with. And we're home now.
And then Hickson says something the sheriff was less prepared for than a compliment from a woman.
When they come back, I want to be ready for them.
When? Like, they're Amazon delivery people, not aliens.
They don't say if.
They're alone, mind you. No audience, no reason to perform. This man really believes he's been taken once and will be taken again. And Liam Neeson is nowhere to be found to protect them both.
The sheriff listened to that tape and quietly stopped calling it a hoax.
Sneaky footsteps in the night, clues that vanish out of sight. Grab your hat and magnifying glass. We'll talk this case and have a blast. Mugshot Mysteries, we're on the trail. Twists and turns that never fail. Laughs and chills, it's quite the show. Who did it? Tune in to know.
Welcome to Mugshot Mysteries, everyone. I'm Kathryn.
And I'm Gabriel.
And tonight, we're going to Mississippi in 1973 with two men, a fishing pier, a Thursday night that neither of them ever got over that may or may not involve alcohol. And this is what many serious researchers call the most credible alien abduction case ever documented. This is the Pascagoula Abduction.
Before the pier, context. Where this happens is important.
It's October 1973, and the country is simply not okay.
Remember Watergate?
Yep.
Well, a lot of you probably don't, but it is why we add gate to the end of every freaking viral thing. The takeaway is Nixon is sinking like a Gibson fastball.
So, trust in the institutions is at a generational floor. If the president can do that, what else are they not telling us?
Into this paranoid, fractured, deeply unsettled landscape that is not 2026 comes the UFO sightings of 1976. One of the largest waves of reported sightings in American history. That fall, reports are flooding in. They're coming from Georgia to Ohio to California. The Air Force, not surprisingly, is fielding questions it absolutely does not want to answer. Congress is asking the same questions because they actively seem as confused as aging men should.
And in Pascagoula, Mississippi, well, two men go fishing.
Charles Hickson, 42, Vietnam veteran, shipyard worker. A man so steady, he proposes on a second date. With him, Calvin Parker, 19, new to town. Hickson's mentee at the yard.
October 11th, 1973 at 9 p.m., the west bank of the Pascagoula River, lines in the water, and then...
a sound.
Not a boat, not a truck, a zipping, buzzing hiss that had no name.
And then a bright, bright light.
Blue, flashing, an oval craft roughly 30 to 40 feet across, hovering 8 feet above the water, no engine sound, no rotor, no wake on the surface, just there. and complete silence except for the hiss.
Both men wanted to run. Neither could.
I remember my arms, they just froze out just like that. I couldn't move.
Hickson described physical paralysis. Legs that stopped responding like a switch had been cut, like when I walk upstairs. Parker, meanwhile, described a reaction that was more primal. It was fear so complete his body just noped out. So much fear, he just powered down like a overheating iPhone.
And then a door opened.
3 beings. And they described them in a way that is wrong.
Wrong? How?
I am glad you asked that, Kathryn. Now, if you are hoaxing an alien abduction in 1973, you describe what people already believe aliens look like. Eyes as big as Zooey Deschanel, gray skin, the whole Spielberg package. That's the convincing hoax. You just go with old vanilla missionary explanations.
And nothing they described was what we expected it to be? Okay, well, then tell us how they describe them.
Well, these aliens wouldn't do well on Tinder, is what I'm saying. They're only about 5 feet tall. Skin like aged leather, wrinkled, gray. The texture of something that has never seen the sun. There's no neck. Head is directly on the torso.
Oof.
A slit where a mouth would be. And then the hands.
The hands.
Crab claws, not fingers. Pincers. Like a giant lobster had finally decided enough is enough.
Big old noping right now.
Have you got a good picture in your mind now?
Yeah, but nobody workshopping a hoax picks crab claws. That is not a focus grouped alien.
And never a neck. I don't know why there's never a neck.
Ugh.
Now, they didn't walk either. They floated, hovering just inches off the ground like my vertical leap. They glided across the water to the pier without touching anything, without even making a sound.
And then they took them.
I passed out. I passed out. That's the first time I ever passed out in my life.
Parker blacked out. Last memory, being lifted like a sleeping child out of the car. Next memory, back on the pier. Whatever happened between those 2 moments lives in a gap he couldn't access, at least not in 1973.
Hickson stayed conscious. He described the interior as uniformly bright, no light source, just light everywhere. And then an instrument, a floating mechanical eye on an articulated arm, moving over him, just scanning.
He felt no pain, no heat, no pressure, just observed, like being pinned to a steel table while an automated slaughterhouse counts your ribs.
Ugh.
And the thing? It's taking extremely thorough notes with those little pincer hands that probably had a hard time with a pen.
20 minutes, and then they were back on the pier.
Fishing rods still in the water. Still no fish on the line.
Like someone had just paused the universe and then hit play.
Hickson, we have to report this. Parker, barely functional, agreed. They drove to Kessler Air Force Base either high as a skyscraper or really just abducted by aliens.
Now, the Air Force wanted no part, said, not our problem. You can go to the sheriff.
And this is how you end up in an interrogation room in Pascagoula, Mississippi, 11 p.m. on a Thursday, telling a story so far-fetched somewhere. OJ nodded his head in approval. Sheriff Fred Diamond heard them out, took notes, did not laugh, which, credit to the man, he showed some professional restraint.
Yeah, but he also did not believe them.
He did not believe them naturally, but something in how they were presenting, the distress, the consistency, the fact that neither of them seemed like they were enjoying any of this, the fact that there was no TikTok to post any of it, well, it kept him from dismissing it entirely.
So he created a test.
He steps out of the room. He leaves a recorder running like he's Kim Kardashian. The logic being, 2 men who invented a story will drop it the second the audience leaves. You'll get whispering, laughter. How long do we keep this going?
Except that's not what happened.
You hear about something like that, but you can't believe it.
Yeah, you hear that. I know. We've seen it. This ain't gonna be the only time this gonna happen again.
Parker fell apart like he was made out of cornbread. Fully, sobbing, he's shaking.
I just laying there crying right now. I can't tell you.
Jesus Christ. Lord, I had been through enough of hell on this earth, and now I have to go through something like this.
And Hickson starts talking him through it. Pardon my Mississippian. Calvin, be still. It's okay. We'll tell it just like it happened. And then, to no one. I've never seen nothing like that before in my life. I almost wish we hadn't even brought it up.
Almost.
That one word is doing something. I almost wish we hadn't brought it up. It's not the sentence of a man who came looking for attention. It's the sentence of a man who walked into a police station and immediately regretted it. Which, to be honest, when I walked into the police station that one time, I also regretted it.
Well, this is a story I've never heard before, Gabriel.
And it will remain that way. But that line, when they come back, I want to be ready for them.
Not if, not maybe, when, in a room that he believed was empty.
The sheriff's take on the case shifted after that tape. He referred it up, and both men, voluntarily, without lawyering up, no Saul Goodman here, they requested polygraph examinations like that's a normal thing to do.
The examiner documented physiological responses consistent with genuine belief. Not performance, belief.
Parker, too distressed to get a reading, was tested later, but he passed too.
Now, we all know that polygraphs aren't perfect and not presenting them as proof, but two men separately tested, no coordination possible, both passing. Well, that shifts something in the probability math.
And then the story gets out.
Dr. J. Allen Hynek, who's an astronomer at Northwestern University, coined the phrase close encounter. The reason Close Encounters of the Third Kind gets its taxonomy right, he even has a cameo in the film.
Hynek started out as the Air Force's official debunker. He's the wah-wah guy. Project Blue Book, which we did talk about in one of our last podcasts, is the government's UFO investigation program. His job and their job is to just explain things away. It was just swamp gas, ball lightning, it's weather balloons, it's Venus, it's your crazy ex with a baseball bat. He was a credentialed scientist brought in to make the problem go away. The man in the black suit.
I mean, aside from the fact that I'm really tired of hearing weather balloons, he was good at it.
Do you remember the Chinese weather balloon? That was not even that long ago.
Was it a weather balloon or was it spying?
Allegedly it was a weather balloon.
Yeah.
Just wanted to see what the eastern winds had to say.
Don't take me down that rabbit hole. We won't come out. So as I was saying, Hynek, he was good at it.
Until he wasn't. Case by case, over the years, he starts hitting reports he can't actually explain, only dismiss. And there's a difference. You know the saying, you can't dress up a pig in a wedding dress? The idea is, if you dress up a dismissal in an explanation's close, it's still just a dismissal with no answers. Dismiss all you want, it takes you nowhere.
And by 1973, he'd crossed the lines. He had founded the Center for UFO Studies the same year as this abduction. He was no longer debunking. He was advocating for serious scientific study.
He came to Pascagoula. He interviews Hickson personally. He reviews the documentation. He reviews the tape. Probably has some really good barbecue. And he says the case is credible.
Not interesting. Credible.
He said he found no evidence of fabrication, no inconsistencies typical of hoaxed accounts. He put on his science glasses and said, this case warrants serious investigation.
James Harder, not the basketball player, came from UC Berkeley independently. Same conclusion. Both men show signs of genuine trauma, and none of the signs associated with fabrication.
So you have two credentialed scientists, independent assessments. They give the same answer like this is the newlywed game.
And nobody in the government was reopening anything. But within the research community, Pascagoula became what it still is. The case the serious people take seriously.
Let's talk about the location for a moment, because it honestly matters and it gets middle child and not talked about.
The Pascagoula River is not a random body of water. Indigenous communities in the region had accounts of unusual phenomena, lights over the water, unexplained sounds, going back generations. The river was considered sacred and strange in equal measure.
And I'm not kidding about the next thing. It has a documented physical phenomenon called the singing river. It's a low, consistent hum that comes off the water under certain conditions. My first question was whether the river had any vocal talent, and then I read about the history, and it gets dark. Hundreds of years of reports. Scientists have studied it. Nobody has quite fully explained it.
The leading theory is sand friction on the riverbed creating vibration. It doesn't fully account for when it starts or when it stops.
Ready for the dark part?
Totally.
The indigenous legend says Pascagoula people, facing conquest, chose to walk into the river holding hands and singing rather than surrender. And the river has sung ever since.
I mean, as dark as that is and gives me the goosies everywhere, I'm still not connecting the singing river to the alien abduction.
I am absolutely implying it because, haunted or not, after hearing this story, I am not trying to tent up with a six-pack anywhere near that riverbed.
Okay, so the point is, this is a location with a long history of unexplained reports, and Hickson and Parker chose it because the fish were good.
They weren't drawn by the legends. They were drawn by fish. What they got, though, was vengeful-looking lobster people.
And in the weeks around October 11th, multiple other residents in the area reported unusual lights and aerial activity over the river. Some of those reports predate the story going public.
Which puts Pascagoula inside something larger. And that larger thing is worth spending some time on, because let's get into some conspiracy.
I'm ready for that. So, we're zooming out now, because Hickson and Parker are not the only people reporting something in October 1973. Like, not even close.
The 1973 UFO flap. Flap in this case means there's a rash of reports. And this is one of the most documented waves in history. Hundreds of reported sightings across the continental United States that fall. But most people don't know the specific cases. So let's do a quick extraterrestrial tour.
October 4th, 1973, 1 week before Pascagoula, Copley Township, Ohio, a woman reports a large disc-shaped object hovering over her home. Low altitude, silent, and leaves before she can get anyone else outside.
Also, October 1973. Multiple military personnel at Eglin Air Force Base in Florida report unexplained lights performing maneuvers that even Maverick couldn't perform. Filed internally, not publicly released until very much later.
And then, 1 week after Pascagoula, the Coin helicopter incident occurs. And this one we need to actually stop on.
October 18th, 1973, Mansfield, Ohio. An Army Reserve UH-1 helicopter with a crew of 4. Trained military observers, not civilians, not guys at a river with a fishing rod and some Budweisers. It's flying 2,500 feet up when they spot a red light approaching at a high speed directly on a collision course.
The pilot pushes into a dive to avoid it.
The object stops directly above them. And then a green beam comes out of the underside of the craft and sweeps over the helicopter, scoping it out, ready to do a ET cat call.
And here's the part that has no explanation. The helicopter, which was in a controlled dive, is now climbing. The altimeter is spinning upward. They're gaining altitude without any crew input. The collective, which is the control that makes the helicopter go up, is still in the dive position.
Something yanks them up into the sky.
So they filed an official report. 4 military crew members, guys, trained observers, official documentation. This is not a campfire story.
The Army investigates. Their conclusion? Unknown.
That was the official conclusion of the United States Army regarding a green beam that grabbed one of their helicopters.
The 1973 flap eventually tapers off, well, the way these waves always do, without an explanation, without a debunking, without anything that closes the loop. It just stopped, and the reports got filed, and the world moves on to the end of Vietnam, flower power, the Cold War, and if our last pod is to be believed, a copious amount of LSD, Mary Jane, and risky sexual encounters.
Everything moved on, except for the people in them. Those people didn't get to move on.
Which brings us to the question that this entire episode is quietly building towards.
Why does this keep happening?
There are 3 ideas for understanding UFO waves. None of them give us warm and cozy hugs because, well, they're all slightly disturbing.
So, let's start with the brain.
Psychology. The human brain is a pattern recognition machine that has been running for 300,000 years on one primary directive: do not get eaten by something. To achieve that, it evolved to see patterns before they happen, to fill in a predator before you're sure there's a predator, because the cost of a false positive, say running from a shadow, is pretty low. You mostly just look dumb in front of the loincloth shorty watching you. The cost of a false negative, staying still when there's actually something there, well, that's death and probably embarrassment after death.
So the brain is wired to complete the picture, to take ambiguous input and land on the most threatening explanation.
Pareidolia is a textbook version of this. Seeing faces and static figures in the clouds, Jesus on the water stain on the wall. The brain is connecting dots that aren't there, but it extends beyond visual perception. Under stress, under sleep deprivation, under emotional duress, the pattern recognition overdrive kicks in hard and fast.
Which means 2 men on a riverbank at 9 p.m., tired from a day of work, ambient stress of 1973 America pressing on them, might be neurologically primed in a way that a well-rested scientist in a controlled environment is not.
That's generous. The less generous read is, the brain doesn't just misidentify. Under extreme stress, it can create entire bullshit experiences. Fill in gaps with narratives so convincing they become stories you tell your buddy over at the bar.
And yet,
the tape.
The tape doesn't lie.
No, the tape is just two men in a room kind of losing their ever-loving minds.
So, let's go sociological.
All right, hashtag I'm 40 and deep. It's coming, prepare yourself.
I'm ready.
UFO waves map onto cultural crises with an almost uncomfortable consistency. Meaning, when stuff is going wacky, our imagination starts going toddler wild. The first major American wave, it happens in 1947. That's the year Roswell happens. That's the year the Cold War starts in earnest. That's the year nuclear anxiety becomes part of our everyday life. Humanity has just learned it can obliterate itself. And suddenly the skies are full of things that shouldn't be there, almost like an outlet for all this crazy.
I'm just saying at some point we're doing a pod on Roswell because I visited there and camped there, and it is wild.
Let's do it.
Now, the 1952 wave, that's the Korean War, the height of McCarthyism, the sense that enemies are everywhere and the institutions that should protect you, well, they cannot be trusted.
And we're back to 1973. We're back at Watergate, the Vietnam aftermath, an economy in freefall, a president whose name is tricky and who just fired everyone who was investigating him on national television.
Every major wave has a corresponding cultural drama, which either means alien visitation intensifies when humanity is suffering,
which is a terrifying thought,
or collective anxiety needs somewhere to go, and the skies are very large and very empty and perfect for projection.
The sociologist would say, we don't see UFOs because aliens have arrived. We see them because we need them to arrive. We see UFOs because something in us needs to direct this anxiety on a third party. In this case, they just happen to have giant heads and big eyes and surprisingly small biceps for taking over a world. The unknown craft overhead is kind of an externalization of all the unknown threats we can't name. At least the craft has a shape.
That argument is very compelling right up until you remember the helicopter and the green bean. Every rational explanation holds until it meets a specific case and falls apart. Which brings us to the part of this conversation that I have so been looking forward to.
And now I'm the eating popcorn meme. Go for it.
Oh yes, we are absolutely going there. Here is the theological problem with extraterrestrial life. Western religion, specifically the Abrahamic traditions, builds on a very specific architecture. God creates, humanity is the apex of that creation, and we are made in the image of God. Michelangelo's statues with the weirdish muscles, the whole story is human-centric in a way that is not incidental. It's heavy.
If there are other intelligent beings in the universe, beings who have evolved on a different planet, under different conditions, but with no connection to the Garden of Eden and the snakes and the apples and all your woman's failures, no relationship to the fall of man, no stake in any of the theological events that define human history,
then what are they?
That's a question. What are they in this scenario? Were they at the garden shooting the hay? Do they have souls? Did Jesus die for them too? And if not, what does this mean for the architecture? Are they going to go to hell because they have pincers for hands?
The Vatican, to their credit, has quietly tried to address this. In 2008, the Vatican's chief astronomer, and yes, the Vatican has an astronomer, said that belief in extraterrestrial life does not contradict Catholic doctrine, that an alien would still be one of God's creatures.
And I'm just picturing a Vatican astronomer sitting in his office at the Vatican, just ruminating on the hashtags he's going to send out. Hashtag, we're all aliens. Hashtag, the Pope is down with ETT.
Oh my gosh. Just doing the Lord's work one TikTok at a time.
But that answer doesn't satisfy everyone, of course. The one of God's creatures framing only works if God's relationship to the universe is, in fact, universal. Many traditions hold that the covenant, the specific relationship between God and humanity, is exclusive. And exclusive by definition can't extend infinitely outward to Venus or Sweeps 04B because they're doomed with their alien ways to eternal brimstone.
Evangelical Christianity has a particularly hard time with this. The structure of salvation, which is sin, redemption, resurrection, is built entirely around a human narrative on one specific planet. Doesn't have an expansion pack, y'all.
Islam has somewhat more flexibility. The Quran refers to beings in heavens and earth beyond humans and angels. At least there's a grammatical room for interpretation if you squint.
Buddhism arguably has the least problem with it. The concept of sentient beings across infinite realms of existence is built into the cosmology. Aliens would just be another category of sentient beings having a rough time and accumulating karma.
Buddhism, once again, being the Spicoli of religions.
Probably less drugs, or maybe not.
Or maybe not. But here's the philosophical version of the problem. And this is even harder. If they're here, if something is coming to this planet and is observing us, taking 2 men off a fishing pier in Mississippi, and then we're not the apex. We are not the center. We are the thing being studied, not the thing doing the studying. We are the little brother getting into a chokehold.
We are the fish.
We are absolutely the fish, Kathryn. And every story humanity has told about its place in the universe, religious, scientific, philosophical, it has assumed we are the ones with the nets and the boats. But if the aliens exist, and they have the technology to visit us, and they have ill intentions, there's not going to be too much we can do about it. Maybe we pray?
The Pascagoula encounter, if you take it seriously, suggests that that assumption is wrong, and that is not a small thing to sit with. Because if you're a believer, and here's where I raise my hand, you understand what this means. You've attempted to process a world where we're not alone, all to say, I'm ahead of the curve, Gabriel.
You might as well be the Hadron Collider, your curve is so hard. Hickson seemed to understand that too. On some level, in a room he thought was empty, he's saying, when they come back, I want to be ready. Now that's a man who has processed in one night that the world is larger than he thought and his place in it is smaller.
And decided to meet it anyway.
Which says a whole lot about human beings in general. We're just like the fighting Irish guy. Dukes are always up, ready for a fight, even if faced with 5-foot lobstrosities.
Now, Charles Hickson died in 2011, and he maintained his account without a single retraction until the very end. 4 decades, same story, same details, same conviction.
Calvin Parker is still alive as of a recording. He gives an occasional interview. Still sounds like a man who'd rather not be talking about this, which, given everything it cost him, is probably the most logical thing to this entire story.
The Pascagoula abduction is officially unexplained. No proof of hoax, no proof of contact, a river, a pier, and a recording running in an empty room.
And a question the universe has not seemed fit to answer. What were those things with the crab claws? And when are they coming back?
Hickson wanted to be ready.
We recommend being ready.
We recommend not fishing alone.
Specifically at night.
Specifically in Mississippi.
Honestly, probably just stay home.
If tonight grabs you, follow the show, leave us a 5-star review, and rate the podcast wherever you're listening. It helps us more than the government transparency helped this case. And for behind-the-scenes content, new episodes, and whatever classified nonsense we're spiraling into next, find us on Instagram and TikTok at Mugshot Mysteries Podcast. And remember, if you ever see a blue light hovering over the dark water at 9 p.m. in Mississippi, maybe just let the fish win. But before we go, as always, Gabriel, what did we learn today?
We have learned that firstly, you shouldn't fish at night. And you really shouldn't fish at night in the land of 4 S's and 2 P's. We have learned that collective anxiety may be powerful enough to manifest aliens into your life. Or, and this is the other option, they're out there right now, watching, waiting, plotting, and there is nothing we can do about it. Any civilization with the technology to cross infinite space to get here is so far beyond us that our options are brutally simple. We coexist or not exist. And how do we process that? How we fit into our core beliefs, our theology, our philosophy, the story we tell ourselves about why we're here and what we are. That is genuinely all we can control. So the real question is, what makes you sleep better at night? Accepting that we're not alone, or trusting that your faith is the right one? All I can say is, stay away from the bright lights. They'll take you somewhere you've never been before.
Sneaky footsteps in the night, clues that vanish vanish out of sight. Grab your hat and magnifying glass. We'll talk this case and have a blast. Mugshot Mysteries, we're on the trail. Twists and turns that never fail. Laughs and chills, it's quite the show. Who did it? Tune in to know. Stolen gem, a secret note, a shady figure in a trench coat. The clock is ticking, the plot gets thick. We'll crack this puzzle quick as a click. Mugshot Mysteries, we're on the trail.